House will come to order. Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Adam Sias from Excel Academy in Arvada, Colorado, and he is the son of Representative Sias. Hello.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Representatives Arndt, Biker J, Biker K, K Becker,
Excused.
Beckman, Benavides, Bridges, Bridges,
Excused.
Buck, Buckner, Representative Buckner,
Representative Buckner is excused.
Carver, Catlin, Coleman, Covarrubias, Danielson. Representative K. Becker is present. Escar, Everett, Everett,
Excused.
Exum, Foot, Foot,
Excused.
Garnett, Janelle, Gray, Gray,
Excused.
Hamner,
Excused.
Hanson, Harrod, Hooten, Representative Hooten, Humphrey, Jackson, Representative Foote is present. Kennedy, Kraft Tharp, Landgraf, Lawrence, Lawrence. Lee. Leonard. Lewis. Liston. Lontine. Lundeen. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton. Melton.
Excuse.
Michelson Janae excused. Neville. Pabon. Representative Melton is present. Pabon.
Excuse.
Pedersen. Pedersen.
Excuse.
Rankin. Ransom. Ryer. Ryer.
Excuse.
Roberts. Rosenthal. Rosenthal. Representative Pabon is present. Representative Everett is present.
Excused.
Sane. Sane.
Excuse.
Salazar. Sandridge. Sias. Singer. Thurlow. Representative Sane is present. Valdez. Van Winkle. Weissman. Willett. Willett. Williams. Wilson.
Good morning, Connor.
Winter. Winter.
Excused.
Wist. Young. Madam Speaker.
Here. Just 1 second.
Representative Buckner is present. Representative Ryer is present. Representative Bridges is present. Representative Pedersen is present.
We're just ready.
With 59 present and 5 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Hansen.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of the Journal of Wednesday, March 23rd, 2018 be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
All right, members, you have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
He'll do it.
The motion passes. All right, announcements and introductions. Representative Covarrubias and Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you again.
It's an honor to serve with you.
I should be down here a little bit lately the last couple of days. Good morning, colleagues. We hope you're all enjoying your handcrafted doll found on your chair today. The dolls were made by children and child advocates across Colorado. In many cases, the dolls were created by kids in our own districts to remind us to continue them a priority as we make important policy decisions. Doll Day is sponsored by the Colorado Children's Campaign, which also provided a copy of the annual Kids Count in Colorado report on your desk today. This is the 25th edition of the report, and it takes a long-term look at trends in child well-being since the early 1990s.
Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Note the progress we've made for kids in that time due to courageous decisions made in this very chamber. There are also many areas where we have more work to do to ensure every chance for every child in our state. Please take your dolls and display them in your offices or share photos on social media with the hashtag KidsCount. Doll Day is a long-standing tradition at the Capitol, and we thank the kids and advocates around the state for making these dolls. We also invite you to show your support for Colorado kids by attending a celebration of 25 years of Kids Count today from 11:30 to 1:30 at the History Colorado Center. You're welcome to stop in at any time for lunch and birthday cake. Thank you for supporting Colorado kids.
Thank you.
All right. Representative Valdez.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this morning from all the way from the San Luis Valley, the Potato Council brought some potatoes for you to share with your family and your friends and your neighbors. So they're pleased in the break room. Get your sack of potatoes and enjoy them. Thank you.
Announcements or introductions, Representative Lee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Judiciary Committee members, Senate Bill 56 will not be on the calendar this afternoon. The civil jurisdiction bill is off the calendar for today.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Hamner is present. Further announcements or introductions? Representative Catlin and Representative Arndt. Are you guys coming up together?
Oh, I guess. Yes.
Okay.
No, we're competing.
Yeah.
All right. Who would like to speak first? Oh, you have a tribute this morning. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Catlin.
It's a joy to serve with you today.
It's a joy to serve with you today, too.
We have a tribute we would like to have read.
Should we ask Mr. Randall, will you please read the tribute at length?
Members.
Wait, let's ask him to read it
Okay.
first. And then we'll...
Mr. Randall.
The Senate and the House of Representatives convened in the 71st General Assembly hereby extend sincere commendations to Colorado Agriculture Day. Americans enjoy the safest, most abundant, and most affordable food supply in the world, thanks largely to the efficiency and productivity of America's farm and ranch families. Agriculture ranks among the most important economic sectors in Colorado, supporting more than 170,000 jobs and generating an estimated $40 billion of economic activity annually. Colorado's farmers and ranchers are innovative entrepreneurs and business leaders who remain resilient in their dedication to the continued prosperity of the state's agriculture. The members of the Colorado General Assembly proudly recognize and designate Colorado Agriculture Day on March 22, 2018, in celebration of the many men and women who strengthen the nation's agriculture industry, promote a safe, high-quality, and sustainable food supply, and protect consumers, the environment, and natural resources. On request of Representatives Jenny Arndt and Mark Catlin and Senator Sonnenberg, given this 22nd day of March 2018, State Capitol in Denver.
Representative Catlin.
Who would like to speak first?
Here's a farmer.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today's an important day. I really wanted to talk to you today about the value of agriculture in the state of Colorado. we're all aware of Colorado's agriculture every time we go to the grocery store or every time we go about having a hamburger in the backyard and those kind of things. But I don't think we're familiar with how valuable it is in relationship to what makes Colorado, Colorado. I want you to think about it.
Just one moment, Representative Catlin. Members, today is Ag Day, and we are doing a tribute. Representative Catlin?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One of the things I want you to think about today is that agriculture is really what's making Colorado, Colorado. People think about the 14 years and all of those things. But when you and I go out in the state of Colorado, what do we see? Mostly we see open fields. We see people making a living off of raising a crop. We see a vista. And remember that one man's farm is another man's open space. And these people maintain that open space for the benefit of everybody. Certainly they raise a crop, they've got private property rights and those type of things, but it's what makes our communities communities. Agriculture does its job quietly at the edge of town. They don't make a lot of noise, they don't raise a lot of problems, but they're the people that are coming back and forth between those stores and those communities. They're the ones that are probably putting the foundation in a lot of these rural economies. We don't get an opportunity to say thank you to them because usually we don't know for sure who they are. But I want you to know I have the greatest respect for people that can coax a living up out of the ground and be able to do that on an annual basis. One of the things we talk about an awful lot, and we use the word sustainable. I agree with sustainable, but I'm a much bigger fan of viable. Sustainable suggests that we might make it to next year if everything works just right. Viable means that we have an opportunity to buy a new combine, or maybe a new pickup, or put that kid through college. The state of Colorado needs a viable agricultural industry. That's one of the reasons I came to the House of Representatives, is that I believe in agriculture. I believe in the people that raise that crop. I believe the people that run those cows and them sheep. Part of the reason I'm here is because of that. You know, I thought I was coming for the industry, but in reality, I came for the people. I came for the people that do coax a living up out of the ground. I came for here to help you understand how valuable they are to their communities, to this state, and to this nation. They're part of our national security. If we don't depend on outside nations for our food, it will be very hard to take this country down the path and take us out of being a free nation. Food produced in this country keeps us free, keeps us safe, and keeps us strong. If you know a farmer or you know a rancher, today'd be a good day to pick up your cell phone, call him and say, hello, I'm proud of you. Thank you for what you do. That'd be a good day today. That's the kind of tribute that I'm looking for. And thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for helping me and Representative Arndt say something about agriculture today that may sound a little different. I had something written and I thought I was really sharp with that. But I'm not good about reading it. I'm better about just saying it. It has to come from inside or it just doesn't come out right. But anyway, thank you so much for taking time to pay tribute to the agricultural community and the agricultural industry in the state of Colorado. I think Ag's #1 this year. Hey, way to go, team.
Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Representative Catlin, and I think he can say it better talking about producers than pretty much anybody. I'd also encourage you to think of ag and I always like talking and thinking about the future of ag. So where are we going? And as was said in the tribute, we're talking about businesses, small businesses, innovation. We're talking about big business. If you haven't been to the Ag Innovators Group, you get so excited. Ag permeates every single part of our state. in every single way that you can imagine. And so I'd also like to give a nod, because I represent CSU, to the veterinarians, to the ag economists, to the ag statistics people. You have no idea how many people are employed in the ag area that maybe aren't producers and maybe aren't farmers, but they support the farmers. The extension agents are out there working hard every day to help people do a better job. The people in the water world and the innovation, the creativity, the future looking. We are really lucky now to have a young presence of the young farmers here at the Capitol. And last summer we had a young farmers task force. We're going right into the future. We're going to open our minds to what ag is going to look like next year and in 10 years and in 50 years. We're having urban agriculture. We've got aquaculture. We've got farm to table. We've got great farmers markets. And I couldn't be more excited when I talk about ag and every single way it permeates our culture of Colorado and who we are and the way we do it. So thank you for listening, and enjoy Ag Day.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and good morning. I do want to talk just for a minute about Ag Day. Today, all day long, I would appreciate you just thinking of those people that are in agriculture, that are out there waking up this morning to go feed cows, to go decide how they're going to plant their fields, to go decide how much water they're going to get for their fields, to all the things that they do. And these are the people that bring $41 billion into our economy each year. Plus, they are the ones that keep the small communities going. They're the ones that keep the small school districts going in the small towns across Colorado. Let's think of them all day and think good thoughts, because there'll be a lot of people here today, but there's a lot of people that can't be here today. So God bless them. Let's think about agriculture all day. Thank you.
Representative Head.
Looks like a bear trap.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, members, as you know, I represent Denver, Colorado, and in Denver, we can be a pretty particular group. We like farm-to-table restaurants, and we like our Colorado grown and our Colorado native, all those types of things. But sometimes we don't always think about where it comes from. And it has been one of my goals and priorities to ensure that folks in the folks in the urban areas understand the life and the value of rural Colorado, especially when it comes to our food sources. This summer, I had the opportunity to visit Representative Catlin's district, where it seems like the sun is always shining and the corn is always sweet. The Olathe sweet corn is probably now one of my favorite things when it's ready to eat. And I just can't tell you how important it is for Colorado, for who we are in our Colorado way of life, that the folks in rural Colorado, the ranchers, the farmers, the farm workers, and all of that goes into the industry is sound and secure and supported by this body. So thank you for bringing the tribute today, and I look forward to Ag Day. It's one of my favorite days. Thanks.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I'm going to give you a test here, so pay attention, okay? Actually, I guess I should say it's an assessment since I'm an educator. I want you to realize when we talk, whether you're Representative Catlin or Representative Lewis or myself or whomever, we talk about rural, I want you to see why we are concerned about voices being heard. How many of you in this chamber have operated a farm? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're a farmer? I didn't realize that. No, not grandparents. This is not your first cousin on your mother's side. This is you actually rolled up your sleeves and operated a farm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of 65, only 7 of us. How many of you grew up on a farm? That's not you visited your grandma's farm, but you grew up on a farm. Look around, folks. What? A ranch counts, yes. Okay, there you go. That's why we are concerned, folks. We're losing touch with the agricultural background of this state. Had that question been asked 40 years ago, guess who would have been in the minority? The urban. It's changed. So the ones you see today are a vanishing breed, and if they go, we go. There will not be food, there will not be produce. So be sure to thank a farmer rancher, because they are a disappearing breed, and that's why we are so concerned to keep that rural piece in front of all of us, because it is disappearing. Thank you.
Representative Breyer.
I'm just going to do the microphone. Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is Ag Day, and I've been lucky to be a part of all sorts of ag. So from personal experience, I can tell you that there are probably more things that happen before you get that food on your table or at that restaurant than any of you can imagine. And it all takes work, really long hours, and never kid yourself that farmers are out there doing what they do 24/7 because they want to be a millionaire. It doesn't pay real well. Some years it doesn't pay at all. And you have to remember that they're doing it because they love it. It's a way of life, and every one of you need to experience it for a little while. Don't go to a dude ranch. That's not agriculture. You need to come out and see what we do. My district encompasses the Rocky Ford produce people. So when you go to King Soopers and you see a Rocky Ford melon, that came directly out of Colorado ground. And when you see San Luis Valley potatoes, Representative Valdez, those came right out of the ground. So please remember where we come from, and where most of you probably started in the beginning anyway. So thank you very, very much.
Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, you're right, Representative Wilson. My grandparents, great-grandparents going way, way back, they're the ones that operated the farms and ranches all the way up to my parents, and then they moved up to the urban area because life is hard. That's hard, and doesn't pay very well. And I kind of miss that. I kind of wish that they would have raised us in that way on the farm and the ranch, but unfortunately they didn't. But I'll tell you one thing that my family will never forget, the thing that keeps farms and ranches running, undoubtedly, the one thing, and I know this because going out into the rural areas over the past year, I've heard it from the farmers and ranchers over and over and over again. The migrant farm workers, they're the ones who help keep those farms and ranches going. I heard it out in Fort Morgan. I heard it out in Kiowa County. I heard it out everywhere. I said, make sure you please protect our migrant workers, because if they're gone, we're gone, and this entire town is gone. And that's why we have produce that we're able to purchase for fairly reasonable prices. It's because of them, because they work so doggone hard. They work relentless hours. They're out in the sun. They're sweating. They're slaving away for very little money. So that way all of us can be fed and some of us can look a little chubby. Migrant workers, they have been the backbone of rural America when it comes to farming and ranching, helping out dairy farmers and so many others all along the way. So thank you very much for bringing this resolution. I really appreciate it, and I loved your words, Representative Catlin. Loved your words. They were very amazing and very inspiring. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for bringing the Ag Tribute today. I believe there is another tribute that is coming. No, we're not ready yet. Okay, any further announcements or introductions? Further announcements or introductions? Representative Salazar.
Yep, tomorrow, March Powwow. Opening ceremony starts at noon. Hopefully we'll be done. I don't know, maybe I should ask for a raise of hands. How many of you have been to March Powwow? Really? 4 people have been to March Powwow? You should go. It is 5 people. It is a spectacle unlike any other. We're talking about a cornucopia of colors. We're talking about dancing, and we're talking about food grown by agriculture. We're talking about just the cultural experience alone is amazing, and I hope to see you there at March Powwow. Thank you.
Representative Liston, announcements and introductions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And, you know, these comments, colleagues, about Ag Day and the farmers are so true. This is a good segue because there's a book that I read a number of years ago. Some of you might have heard of it, called The Worst Hard Times, which tells the story about what the farm economy went through during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. I would strongly recommend it to you. So my hat's off to the farmers and ranchers of our economy. And, you know, this is a good segue because the farm economy it's tough out there, but I have some good economic news for everybody today. Haven't had a chance to do it. The Federal Reserve Board just announced yesterday that our economy is going to grow 2.7% in 2018, which is the best growth we've had in over 12 years. And they're also estimating the economy, our U.S. economy, will grow by 2.4% in 2019. That's the best growth of the U.S. economy back to back in like 20 years or more. They also said, and I'm quoting, the economic outlook has strengthened in recent months and will continue to strengthen throughout the year. And on another positive note, good economic news, at the retail level, retailers added 50,300 jobs last month alone. 50,300 jobs in the retail sector. That is 4 times the level that we saw just in January. So let's have a good shout out for our great economic growth and economy here this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Obama.
Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to, I would like to say hello and welcome to one of your fellow members here in the last few years. I'd like you to turn around and say hello to J. Paul Brown, Representative J. Paul Brown. And I'd also like to make a quick thank you to a man that I consider a friend, John Becker. Thank you.
Good to see you. Further announcements or introductions? Representative Coleman. Members, we have another tribute this morning, and we have some very special guests that are here with us.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that Mr. Randall please read the tribute.
And members, we have another tribute to honor the Tuskegee Airmen. Mr. Randall, please read the tribute.
The Senate and House of Representatives convene in the 71st General Assembly hereby extend sincere commendations to the Tuskegee Airmen and Lieutenant Colonel James H. Harvey III, documented original Tuskegee Airmen. As a lieutenant, Harvey was a winning team member of the 1949 1st Air Force aerial competition, Top Gun. Your exemplary service, perseverance, and consistency have led to triumph and success. Thank you for your exceptional service, your aviation skills, and your contributions throughout the entire country and the state of Colorado. On request of Senator Angela Williams and Representative James Coleman, given this 22nd day of March, 2018, State Capitol in Denver.
Representative Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Tuskegee Airmen were dedicated, determined young men who enlisted to become America's first black military airmen at a time when there were many people who thought that black men lacked intelligence, skill, courage, and patriotism. Colorado's own Lieutenant Colonel James H. Harvey III served more than 20 years in the military, became a member of the famed Tuskegee Airmen, and was the first African-American pilot to fly combat missions over the Korean airspace. And a special note, in May of 1949, as a member of the 332nd Fighter Group team, he, along with 3 fellow officers, won the first ever weapons meet in aerial competition at the Las Vegas Air Force Base. After retiring from the Air Force, he ended up in the Denver metro area where he worked as a distribution center manager for Oscar Mayer. And on August 6, 2011, Lieutenant Colonel Harvey received the Noel F. Parrish Award, the Tuskegee Airmen's highest honor, at the Tuskegee Airmen 40th National Convention. The award recognized outstanding endeavors to enhance access to knowledge, skills, and opportunities. Lieutenant Colonel Harvey and the members of the Tuskegee Airmen. I want to thank you today for your dedication, determination, and all that you do, that you exhibited in overcoming significant obstacles to serve our country. Thank you very much for your time today.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am so very proud and honored to welcome the Tuskegee Airmen and their families and their friends here to the chamber today. I don't know how many of you have ever been into my office, but when you walk in, the very first thing you see is a picture of some Tuskegee Airmen looking at an aircraft. And the looks on their faces are full of pride and wonder. And I look at them because I take inspiration from them every single day. The inspiration that I take is when the going gets tough for me sometimes in this building, I look to them and I look to those faces and I think to myself, they did it, they could do it, I can do it too. So thank you so much for being part of my inspiration. And then just on another note, part of my district in Aurora, House District 42, cuts into the Lowry Air Force Base. And in January 25th, 1943, the first class of African American military personnel in any of the Army Air Force's technical schools began a 12-week aerial photography course at the Army Air Force's Technical School, of course, at Lowry Air Force Base here in Colorado. 46 students completed the course on April 16th. Thank you for being my wings.
Further discussion. Who would like to speak next? Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I thank you for rising in support of this tribute for the Tuskegee Airmen. So often we think about the Tuskegee Airmen being national heroes, but having this legacy as a part of Colorado's history is so meaningful to people like myself who grew up here in Denver and know that that legacy is something that I can be a part of, that I can strive and achieve to, and look forward and look up to. And I was so humbled to find out that the first Top Gun winner was a Tuskegee Airman. That to me was mind-blowing to know that that legacy was a part of Colorado's history. And so I rise in strong support in honor of all the gentlemen that are sitting on the side and all the gentlemen that came before us to fight in the many wars and defend this country and become such a part of Colorado's legacy and America's legacy. Thank you.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A big welcome to the Tuskegee Airmen that are here today. I also want to share a relative that was Tuskegee Airman. If you see him on the screen, that is Hervin Exum from Eureka, North Carolina. Just a couple of comments about Hervin. He said at nights in the bed he shared with 4 brothers, sleeping head to foot and tired from days tending his family's fields of tobacco and picking cotton by the bushel. Hervin Percy Exum dreamed of a life in the skies, but for a young black man in rural North Carolina, ambitious of winging through the air, were lofty as clouds themselves. That one day he would climb over racial barriers to sit in the cockpit of a 2,500 horsepower fighter plane as a pilot during World War II proved to be his greatest achievement. A Tuskegee Airman, Exum was among a now dwindling generation of African-American men who made history with their prowess in the flight. Almost 1,000 black men trained to be pilots through the Tuskegee program through World War II. Exum, who died August 18th at the age of 91 at the Washington Veterans Affairs Medical Center. Thank you.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this resolution today, and I have a friend, a neighbor who is here today, and his name is Eric Mosley. We live on the same street, in fact, and his father, Lieutenant Colonel John Mosley, was a Tuskegee Airman. Lieutenant Colonel John Mosley was an amazing man. He made sure that other African American youth learned about flying. He took them in flight simulators so they knew that they could be pilots. And John Mosley was one of the most humble people I have ever met. He was valedictorian of his class. He was just an outstanding person. And his son, Eric, ended up being a pilot for United Airlines. And he's continuing the legacy of his father. I also have a cousin who was a Tuskegee Airman, so I know firsthand what it was like for those airmen who risked their lives for our country and fighting prejudice that we can't even describe. So please greet the men who are here today, thank them for their service, and I am so proud to stand here today and recognize these outstanding men.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, you all know that I come from a long line of military service. The Tuskegee Airmen, I will say, really had a huge impact on my family. My brother would run around thinking he was going to be a Tuskegee Airman, but the most important thing about that story is that it taught him that he could be whatever he wanted to be, that he could dream high, that he could fly high, and that he can support and serve this country with honor. He's now in the Navy. He's 6'3" and 300 pounds, so he couldn't fit in the plane, and so he decided instead to get in a little boat. I don't know, but that's my brother, and he is serving, and it is because of their legacy and seeing them, what they've done, that he realized that he had that opportunity as well. And so it is my honor to acknowledge, would you all please stand, Lieutenant Colonel Harvey and all of the other Tuskegee Airmen who are here today. Please stand and be acknowledged by the Chamber.
On behalf of the entire General Assembly, thank you for your service to our country. Further announcements or introductions? Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I just wanted to welcome both former Representatives J. Paul Brown and Representative Clarice Navarro to the floor. Please tell them hi.
Good to see you, everyone. And Representative Paul Brown, you got 2 introductions today. I also have an introduction. Joe Rice, former mayor and former representative, is here as well, along with a group, a business group. Casey, thank you so much for being here today. And welcome to the Capitol. Good to see you. All right, with that, I believe we're going to third reading. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1092.
House Bill 1092, Representative Bell, and then Senior House Senator Neville concerning a pilot program for marijuana delivery in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1092 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1092 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Beckman, Representative Lee, and Representative Van Winkle, please vote. Please close machine. With 36 yes votes, 27 no votes, 1 excused, and 1 vacant, House Bill 1092 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just realized Representative Michelson Janae is absent, so we will lay over House Bill 1132.
Okay, seeing no objection, House Bill 1132 will be laid over. That takes us to general order, second reading of bills. Representative Kennedy. All right, members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Kennedy will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon the motion of the Majority Leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1131 till Monday, March 26th.
You have heard the motion of the Majority Leader. If there's no objection, House Bill 1131 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1155.
House Bill 1155, Representative Singer and List, and also Senator Martinez amendment concerning continuation of physical therapy board in connection with implementing the recommendations contained in its 2017 Census Review and report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Okay. Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1155 and the committee reports on appropriations and public health care and human services.
Representative Singer, I do not believe there's an Appropriations Committee report.
Correct. Well, we went from unanimous content to consent, so...
Content.
That's right. So thank you, Mr. Chair. In that case, I move the Public Health Care and Human Services Committee report, and with that, we have a couple of amendments. Do you want to...
Represent...
So I'm going to... Where we last were yesterday or 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
There were several amendments on the floor. Those amendments, just procedurally, are, since they weren't included in the Cal report, have gone away. But I believe there's another member who may have another amendment.
Okay. Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I move L014 and ask that it be properly displayed. And while we're waiting for that, if I might.
Yes, please.
So when last we spoke, we had an amendment, and then there was some questions about things that should be added to that amendment, and so that's when we ended. And like Representative Singer said, all that went away because it was not approved by the COW. And so you'll see that this amendment provides some guideposts to the dry needling activity. That basically it states that physical therapist that performs dry needling needs to have the knowledge, skill, ability, and documented competency to perform the act. They've successfully completed a dry needling course that meets the supervision, educational, clinical prerequisites, and they have to obtain a written consent, and we did add in here concerning potential benefits and risks of dry needling, and that the board would promulgate rules to this. So I know we've been receiving a lot of feedback on this issue, and so my thought is that as the legislature, our responsibility is to provide the broad policy guidelines that provide guideposts to ensure public safety. It's the board's responsibility to be able to spell those out in details. How many hours, how many courses, what does supervision look like? So hopefully this is a way to be able to meet everyone's needs. I ask for your support, and I have worked with the sponsors on this bill, so I ask for your support.
Members, we are already getting off to a noisy start. Please keep it to a dull roar. Representative Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I want to rise in support of L014. We have worked very, very closely with the stakeholders over the last 2 or 3 days, the acupuncturists and the physical therapists, and L014 is agreed upon by all sides, all parties. It really, truly is the needle. It's,
Right.
Through the threads, finally threaded, and I want to extend our appreciation to the people outside in the glass for their good work, diligent work. This amendment, I rise in support of it. It's a good amendment, and I urge an aye vote on L014.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also rise in support of Amendment L014. You know, I spoke with the lobbyists from the Acupuncturist Association. They said they're okay with this amendment. There's a huge divide between, and I won't parse words, there's a big divide between two different groups here, and we have asked for as much compromise language as we could get. I really want to thank Representative Kraft-Tharp, actually, for coming up with some language to get us to a good point. And I hope that everyone here supports Amendment L014 to make sure that patients can have choice, but only choice in their health care once they get knowledge about the service that they're actually getting. This is about choice, this is about safety, and I encourage an aye vote on this amendment.
Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to offer a substitute amendment, and I would move Amendment 015.
Amendment L15 is properly before us. Representative Beckman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was in committee when we heard this bill and had great testimony, but since that time, we have been inundated with quite a lot of concerns. And so what this amendment would do, it would just amend the House committee report to take out dry needling and put it to the side so that we can deal with it in another bill or at another time.
Representative
I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, members, I would rise in opposition to L015 with all due respect to my esteemed colleague. Dry needling, this would eviscerate dry needling and take it out of practice, which quite frankly would be abhorrent. Dry needling is a fact of life. We have, it's out there, it's successful, it's a proven health-saving technique. I speak from personal experience. I won't bore you with the details, but it does work, it's successful, it's practiced by the physical therapists. They are highly, highly trained trained and qualified. They know what they're doing. There is no severe or moderate health risk at all. I urge a no vote on L015.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was in the Public Health Committee when we had this conversation as well. No longer have the privilege of serving on that committee. But what I do remember from that conversation is that there was some pending litigation with DORA and about this very topic. And it seems to me that we ought to let that litigation ferret its way out through the process, decide where the court stands on this issue. And then if we disagree or we agree, then we decide what to do next. To me, this circumvents that process that's already in place. It puts us weighing in, putting our thumb on the scale before that process is played out. And since that's the case, I would actually support this amendment, and we can resolve this issue, maybe not in this bill, maybe at this time, but we can let our process, judiciary process play out and see where we get.
Representative Wist. Mr. Assistant Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Representative Pabon, and I stand in favor of this amendment. Here's the important thing. I'm not opposed to dry needling. I have been a patient that's received dry needling. But the issue here is the fact that this particular issue was challenged by the acupuncturist in the case of the Acupuncture Association of Colorado versus the Colorado Physical Therapy Board. There was a decision on the merits in the district court, and that decision is now up on appeal. So the question is, do we act now, and as Representative Pabon said, put our finger on the scale in that particular piece of litigation? And as an attorney, I don't think that's our role as the legislature. We should allow that litigation process to play out. And once we have the information, once we have the decision from the court, then it will be appropriate for us to ask. There are legitimate issues. I think the lawsuit was brought in good faith. There are legal claims that are being litigated in good faith by the parties in that litigation. Let's allow that process to play out before we act. Members, I ask for an aye vote on 015.
Representative Sane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last time I checked, people called us lawmakers. We make laws here. And I've heard from a lot of people that dry needling has helped. Let's let the individual decide for themselves what the risks are. This is protectionism, nothing more than that. I appreciate the arguments by some of my colleagues, but I would urge a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Sias.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and a couple of comments. First of all, I, like Representative Wist and a few others in this chamber, have been the recipient of this and actually found it to be incredibly helpful and safe and professional and sanitary. But that aside, I do want to address the comments from Representatives Pabon and Wist, for whom I have great respect in both cases. And I think their point about deference to the fact that we have a pending court case is an important one. And I do think that we, for reasons of separation of powers, we want to take account when that is in fact the situation. However, I do not think that the mere fact that there is a case is in every case dispositive, that means that we just say, well, okay, we're going to always defer and always do nothing and not bring any judgment or analysis to bear. And so I have read the case and I'm struck by a couple of things in that opinion. First of all is the fact that the court does note that it's the latest chapter in what they call a long-running turf war between acupuncturists and physical therapists over a process called dry needling. I also note that the court, in which does grant standing to the acupuncturist, but then the court, when it goes to the appeal itself, actually has a section entitled Untimeliness, in which they go through a list of ways and cases in which the acupuncturist had actually failed to bring timely requests and timely appeals. And I will read, if I may, from that. No timely request for, I'll paraphrase here, no timely request for judicial review was sought upon enactment of the rule, or for that matter, its 2007 predecessor, nor did plaintiffs seek a declaratory judgment thereafter. Instead, over 4 years after Rule 211 was promulgated in 2012, plaintiffs sought its repeal by the board in 2016. Plaintiffs' appeal from the board's denial was timely, but the argument it makes to the court is not. I also read this opinion and try and assess whether or not I think the arguments that the court is making make sense to me, as I think we should as legislators work when we're considering whether or not to intervene. And frankly, in my opinion, the arguments do make sense, and I am drawn to the conclusion, and it is my personal conclusion, others will differ, that frankly this court case is the latest in a series of efforts to frankly delay decision and delay an outcome that the acupuncturists simply do not want. I would encourage us in this case to press forward with this bill with all due respect to my colleagues. Thank you.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And let me just be clear about my overall position. I support the sunset continuation of physical therapist and board functions. I support the needs and desires of the community with physical therapists. Actually, I think I'm okay with even allowing physical therapists potentially to engage in a dry needling practice. So it has nothing to do with the substance of the issues that we're talking about here. It has to do with the posture of where we're at and how this is sort of coming down. And here's the irony of all of this. If you look at your bill paper right now, I am a co-sponsor on this bill. So I not only support it, but my name's on it. And during committee, this litigation and this appeal came to my attention, and I said, I must have just been, asleep at the wheel if I put my name on this bill knowing that the pending litigation was out there. And if I was and I made that commitment, I apologize. And the response was, Representative Pabon, that didn't exist at the time that you put your name on this bill. That happened in the interim. And I said, okay, that's fair. But at this point, again, I support all of these concepts. My name's on the bill. But because of this appeal process, I really think as a matter of principle, a matter of course, we ought to let that play out. And then we can take up this cause as needed. So I just wanted to be clear for the record, for the physical therapists listening in, for those who want to do dry needling who are listening in, I support your efforts. I just don't think this is the right way to do that.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I'm going to rise in opposition to this amendment and in support of allowing the practice of dry needling by physical therapists to go forward, where, as we discussed yesterday, there was informed consent. In disclosure, I have had many visits to a physical therapist over the last couple of years, and I have discussed, although have not participated in the practice of dry needling. I was certainly informed. I would certainly be more informed before going ahead, and I would certainly consent before going ahead. I appreciate the discussion about the ongoing litigation, but I want to draw a key distinction here. Where a court is considering constitutional issues that bear on the power of this legislature to act at all, I think that we should be particularly mindful of the course of such litigation. I don't understand that to be what's going on here. Rather, I think that there is a simple policy choice, and policy choices are what we do, are what we make, are how we operate down here. So I'm convinced on the merits that allowing the practice to go forward where patients choose for it to is worth doing. I think we saw another amendment that is a good faith attempt to put some parameters on it. And in bigger context, we all know that we have an opioid epidemic in this state, and I think it is especially important to allow patients options to manage pain in other ways, and I think we know that this can be one such effective way. So I urge a no on this amendment, and let's get back to the underlying discussion.
Mr. Assistant Minority Leader Wist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I also support the bill. I also support the practice. But I want to make very, very clear what we're doing and what this litigation's about. This litigation is about whether or not Rule 211, which is a regulation, is consistent with statutory intent. The statute, as currently read, does not include dry needling. So if the issue squarely before the court is the intent of the legislature with respect to whether or not this rule encompasses or includes dry needling, and we then act to clarify the legislature's intent, we are in fact putting our finger on the scale. We are weighing in existing litigation. And I do think that's a serious question for you to take into account. I can certainly see that if there is discussion in the Colorado Court of Appeals about the legislature's intent, you can certainly say that if this legislature acts and takes this action as presented before you and adds dry needling to this statute, one of the parties will be able to say, well, you'll see that the legislature clarified its intent. That's the issue that's squarely before you with this amendment that Representative Beckman has presented. And I think this has been a good discussion, but an important one that should give you pause. I ask for an aye vote on the amendment.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of substitute amendment L15. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no? No. The noes have it. Amendment L15 fails. We are back to the underlying amendment L14. Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I encourage an aye vote on the current amendment. This amendment actually, if people have concerns about dry needling and what it does with the other amendment failing, this at least gives us the parameters and safeguards and informed consent that we wouldn't have without this amendment. And so I hope this is a good way to split the difference, and I encourage an aye vote.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, as I said earlier, L014 is a good amendment. All parties have collaborated. We've really got this fine-tuned. I urge an aye vote on L014. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion of the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L14 to the Public Health and Human Services Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment is passed. To the committee report, Representative Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask that, let's see, first of all, that there is an amendment to the committee report. I ask that L003 be moved and displayed.
Amendment L3 is properly before us. Please proceed.
Members, during the committee report, what L03 does, it amends the competency requirement in the Physical Therapist Practice Act, and it clarifies that the activities...
Representative Liston, I believe this amendment is to the bill, not to the committee report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Apparently it is. Okay.
Okay, so that motion is out of order. We'll come back to it in a moment.
Okay, jump the gun. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. Representative Singer.
I move the committee report and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Public Healthcare and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report passes. We are to the bill. Representative Liston.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jump the gun. I move L003 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Okay, this is the recording version again. What L003 does, members, is amends the competency requirement in the Physical Therapist Practice Act. It clarifies that the activities that must be documented are professional. And I ask for an aye vote on L003.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment passes. To the bill, Representative Liston.
Very good. We have another amendment. I move L006 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Members, what L006 does is it creates a new section in the Physical Therapist Assistant Act for the competency requirements. The assistants help the physical therapists. It's a good amendment, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we have to move Amendment L007 to amend L006? I apologize. I should have made sure. Thumbs up, thumbs down? Yes. Yeah, we do. All right. With that, I have an amendment to L006.
Good. Please move the amendment.
Oh. Actually, yeah, no. Well, we should. We're going to do this a little bit cleaner, folks, and I apologize for the technical difficulties. There's a two-page amendment that covers L007 and L06 that was distributed to you. So I'm going to ask that L006 be withdrawn, and we'll get a cleaner amendment for the
Representative Liston.
Yes, I withdraw L006.
The motion to amend has been withdrawn, so we can consider alternative ideas. Representative Singer. Representative Liston.
I move L012 and ask it be displayed.
Thank you, Marilyn. Amendment L12 is properly before us. Please proceed.
This one right here. Members, what L012 does is amends L016 to make the competency requirement for physical therapist assistants with the competency requirements for physical therapists. It also adds a definition of continued professional competency. I ask for an aye vote on L012.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L012 to House Bill 1155. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment passes.
To the bill.
To the bill. Representative Singer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for bearing with us on this. Apparently, we needed to sharpen our arguments a little bit before we got here, but I just want to clarify that this is a bill that will help patients in terms of their choice as well as ensuring their safety. And we always have to balance that when we talk about these things. This allows a practice, our PTs, to continue the good work they're doing. I know many of us, including myself, have really benefited from PT work. And so I ask for an aye vote on this bill because it's the right thing for our professions, it's the right thing for our businesses, and it's the right thing for our patients. And some of the conflicts that you've heard, there are good arguments on both sides, but when I spoke with Dora and asked how many malpractice cases, how many findings did Dora make for malfeasance, the answer was zero. The answer was zero. And so if there's a problem, we need to work through the process and figure that out. But until then, I'm going to base my decision on the evidence that was given to us. And with that, I ask for an aye vote to allow PTs to continue the good work that they're doing.
Representative Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, once again, I rise obviously in support of the House Bill 1155. We need physical therapists. They are highly trained, highly competent. If you've never been to a physical therapist, someday you will want to meet and have a physical therapist help you out. They know what they're doing, whether it's dry needling or helping your muscular problems and so forth. They're great people. They're highly trained and competent. So I urge an aye vote on House Bill 1155. Thank you.
Representative Willett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I rise as the father of a physical therapist. My oldest, Elise, practices here in Denver, home health care. She does not do dry needling, but she is a huge supporter of dry needling and sees great results from it. I support this bill wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1155 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Bill 1155 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1262.
House Bill 1262, by Representatives Jackson and Roberts, concerning the Arbitration Services Provider Transparency Act.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1262 on second reading. I also move the Judiciary Committee report.
To the committee report, Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members in committee, we struck Section 2 of the bill, which removes the vacating award penalty. This was in consultation with the Bar Association and several other stakeholders, and would ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Judiciary Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bill simply gives regular folks an opportunity to understand if there are relationships with arbitration service providers. Good bill. Vote yes.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill? Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move L004 and ask that it be displayed.
That's quite all right. Thank you. Amendment L4 is properly before us. Representative Pabon, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, L004 is a amendment that essentially recognizes the cornerstone of all of our party agreements that exist with respect to arbitration, contract, whatever it may be. And that is simply that if both parties agree to waive the provisions of the bill for reporting and don't want to be subject to that, that is a option, and with both parties' consent, that the provisions of the bill in large part will be waived. And so ask for a yes vote on L004.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a friendly amendment.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment passes. To the bill, Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good bill. I'd urge a yes vote for some transparency for our consumers.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1262 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1262 as amended passes. Madam Majority Leader.
I move to lay over House Bill 1175, one bill.
You have heard the motion. If there is no objection, House Bill 1175 will be laid over one bill as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1186.
House Bill 1186, Representatives Wilson and Ryle, Senator Marble, concerning continuation of the Colorado Youth Advisory Council in connection with implementing the sunset review recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 181186 and the Appropriations Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you,
Representative
Mr.
Ryer.
Chair. The fiscal note from the Appropriations Committee simply allocates the same amount of money that has been allocated in previous years. I would ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Youth Advisory Council is a group of students from across the state, one student from each of the 35 Senate districts plus 5 at large. These students express their opinion and give us input on things such as education, employment, economic opportunity, even our own government. As far as their participation, if you have not looked into the Youth Advisory Council, let me share with you the members of this body who have one of those students there. These are the ones who make up that body. Their representatives are Lewis, Lawrence, Esgar, Ransom with 2, Roberts with 2, Lee with 5. I don't know how that happened, Representative Lee. Young, Janal has 2, McKean, Beckman, Foote, Winter has 2, Danielson, Benavides, Sane, Covarrubias, Jackson, Duran with 3, Valdez, Bridges, and Catlin. Those are the students that represent your districts on the Youth Advisory Council. It's an excellent group of people, an excellent group of young people. I recommend an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion to the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report to House Bill 1186.
Actually, we're on the bill.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're on the bill. I apologize. Is there any further discussion of House Bill 1186? Seeing none, the question. Oh, Representative McKean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know I'm demure and often difficult to notice. So I'm one of the liaisons to the Colorado Youth Advisory Commission, and I will tell you this. One of the great things is when you bring people from all over the state and you ask them for their ideas, boy, how do you get them? And when you get them, one of the things that I think is going to be the most delightful this year is not just continuing this program, but also giving them an opportunity to have some bills that come to us straight from our youth in this next session. So I heartily support this bill, and I'll be back up here in just a mere few weeks asking you to support another. Thank you, folks.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1186? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1186. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1186 is adopted. Mr. Randall, please lead the title of House Bill 1175.
House Bill 1175, Representative Kraft, Tharp, and Little, Senate Garda, concerning continuation of the Sunset Law, the regulation of community association managers by the Director of Division of Real Estate in connection with them, the recommendations contained in the 2017 Census Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members. I move House Bill 1175. There is no committee report.
To the bill. Representative Kraft Tharp.
Thank you. So this is a sunset bill. This is a bill renewing the Colorado Association Management Practice Act. So if you review Colorado statute, it says that the criteria for us making this decision to continue these programs is around public safety. I'm sure that all of you have had the opportunity to read the sunset report. Yes? So on page 27 of the Sunset Report is a table with the complaints that have been filed against community association managers. Those complaints consist of criminal conviction, violating the Colorado Common Interest Ownership Act, failing to account for or timely remit association funds, misappropriating association funds, demonstrating unworthiness or incompetency, unfilled requests for documents, or charging a fee to fulfill document requests. This speaks to me of public safety. This speaks to me of let's make sure that our folks who are living in our HOAs and have community association managers are safe. Let's continue this program. Thank you.
Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the program's been in force about 4 years now. I think it's done a good job of bringing order to HOA management. One of the things about the bill is we have kept the expansion of the management from happening. Some people wanted to expand the licensure from individuals to the corporations, and that is not part of the bill. So I think it's a good bill. It's good regulation, but does not include any expansive regulation. So I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1175? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1175. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1175 is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Sure. Go ahead.
Mr. Randall, would you please read the title of House Bill 1235?
House Bill 1235, Representatives Hanson, McKean, all Senator Scott, concerning continuation of regulation to custom meat processor, connection therewith implementing the recommendations of 2017 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Representative Hanson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1235 and the Agriculture Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The committee report really is focused in on one item, which is changing the next sunset date. The department had originally requested 13 additional years until the next review. We shortened that to 5. The principal reason is that we had expanded the scope of this bill to include custom poultry processors. So we thought it was appropriate to have a shorter window for the next review.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Representative McKean with respect
Thank you,
to
Mr. Chair. I got
custom poultry.
nothing.
Representative McKean. He's good. Oh, you're good. Okay.
That was it. I got nothing.
Any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Agricultural Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I hope you'll support us in passing 1235 to continue, I think, a very positive program. It helps small producers around the state access important retail markets and helps to localize our food production.
Is Representative McKean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And really, when we talk about farm to table, when we talk about having more local access to our food, this is exactly where we do it. And adding chicken to this is one of those great things that we come along every once in a while and go, hey, we could do this better. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1235 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1235 passes as amended. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee whole basically reports legislation following test bills being segregated in their race. Following recommendations on House Bill 1155 is amended, House Bill 1175, House Bill 1186 is amended, House Bill 1235 is amended, House Bill 1262 is amended. Passed third reading and goes to place count of third reading final passage. House Bill 1131 laid over until March 26, 2018, retaining its place on the calendar.
Representative Kennedy. All right, members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Arndt, Representative Beckman, Bach, Covarrubias, Everett, Salazar Sayas, Willett, and Williams. Please vote. Representative Salazar, Representative Arndt. Representative Salazar is excused.
She's coming from downstairs. We're at 57. Yeah. She was speaking to the group, but she said she was on her way. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. But I am feeling a hefty fine. I said I'm feeling a hefty fine. Because I text her twice and had to call her. Oh, wow. So I think that's a fine.
Please close the machine. With 59 yes votes, 3 no votes, 2 excused, and 1 vacant, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. All right. I believe that takes us to announcements and introductions. Oh, Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Health Insurance and Environment will meet today in room 107. And we are going to hear the following bills. Senate Bill 149, Senate Bill 130, House Bill 1265, House Bill 1009, Senate Bill 136, and House Bill 1215. And that's at 1:30 in room 107.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Speakers. Members, we have some more special guests with us here today. We have visitors from the New Legacy Charter School from Northwest Aurora. The students are studying the legislative branch of government, and they are here to observe all of... Us in action.
That is a fire alarm. No further announcements and introductions. Let's all get outside.
Are we coming back?
The House will come back to order. Representative Kraftharp.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. Got two things. One is all of you in the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, take the afternoon off. You deserve it. You've worked hard. Second is, Madam Speaker Pro Tem, I have turned in the appropriate forms for a request to be able to leave tomorrow at 12:30. So would like your...
Pretty sure this does not require a formal vote.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you on Monday. Further announcements and introductions. Okay, I have one, and that's the State Affairs Committee. Representative Sias will replace Representative Williams today only on the State Affairs Committee. Representative Foote.
We're just doing bow tie.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem, and this is about the State Affairs Committee. We will start at 11:15 in LSBA. We're going to hear 4 bills, HCR 1001, HB 1224, and then for action only Senate Bill 156, and for action only Senate Bill 76. So we'll see you at 11:15.
Further announcements and introductions. Representatives Melton and Everett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. So if you thought that fire alarm was hot, Bolo Bow Tie Baby Friday is going to be on fire.
Okay, seeing no further announcements and introductions, Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. I move that the House stand in recess till 1 o'clock today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until 1 o'clock today.